In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to make beef homemade. So I cooked up 3 steaks of beef right here, and I've cut them up into chunks just so that when I put it in my food processor, it renders down easier. And then I have my beef liver. So I've cooked both of these at 400 degrees Celsius. The beef liver, I added water to it, and I made sure that I cooked it throughout, so that the juices are running clear. So make sure that when you're cooking the beef liver, it's cooked throughout. For the beef steaks, I've cooked it to about a medium rare here, so it's still pink inside, and I've added water to the pan. You want to keep this water because we're going to be using it when we make the homemade. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start loading all of the steaks inside my food processor. My food processor is a 10-cup capacity, but really it processes about 6 cups of meat at a time. So even though it says 10 cups, it's a little bit misleading. So mine can only do a maximum of 6. So if we zoom in a little bit here, we can see that I have filled my food processor about halfway. So the meat comes right up to about the highest point of the blade right there. So that's as much as you want to fill inside. I'm going to take the juices and I'm going to pour them in, because all of that is going to be needed. All of that is extremely nutritious when making your cat food. One point that I want to mention is that when you're cooking up the meat and the beef, you do not want to add any spices to it. The reason being is because this is cat food, it's not human food. The only thing that you can add is a little bit of salt, but otherwise absolutely no spices, because the spices, some of them can and are toxic to cats. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my beef liver. And with the beef liver, what you want to do is you want to add enough inside so that it completely covers all of your steak. So this was exactly 1 package of beef liver that I purchased. And again, I'm going to be adding the juices as well inside here. And as you can see, my food processor is already starting to get quite full. With beef homemade, we do not add egg. However, we can add a little bit of, for the beef homemade, we do not add egg, and we do not add any fish. However, we do add fish oil. We add our bone meal powder for the calcium, and of course, our jar of vitamins and minerals. So this is extremely important. The jar of vitamins and minerals you can only purchase through me, or you can put together your own jar of vitamins and minerals by looking at Dr. Becker's Healthy Homemade Food for Dogs and Cats. So that's what this is based on. So what I'm going to do right now is put a little bit more water inside the food processor, and then I'm going to turn it on and we're going to start processing this down. So with my food processor, I have to put a little towel around it, otherwise the juices can splash out of it. So I'm going to turn it on now. A nice thick pudding consistency. So if you can see in there, if I take it off, it's a nice thick pudding consistency, but it needs to be rendered down a little bit more. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. I'm going to process this a little bit longer. And if we come and take a look, this is exactly the consistency that we want it to be, okay? So it's a nice, thick pudding consistency. That's exactly what we want to make our homemade cat food. Now, at this point, we need to add our fish oil, our bone meal, our calcium, as well as the vitamins and minerals. So beef homemade is considered an incomplete meal because it's missing eggs as well as fish. And the reason for this is two reasons. Number one is when we are doing a protein rotation with the cats, we want to make sure that they're getting a rotation of different meats and organs and fat. The beef homemade typically doesn't have a lot of fat in it. And in order for it to be a complete food meal, it does need to have fat. So this is incomplete because it doesn't have the fat. Second, we don't add eggs just because the cats don't really like the taste of it, and eggs are a vital component, but they are included in the other homemade meals of food, which I will demonstrate in the other videos. And third, we also don't add fish to this because, again, the cats don't really like the taste of the fish in the beef homemade. So that's why this is considered an incomplete meal for them. Nonetheless, it is important because of the red meat component. So what you want to do at this point, whatever your food processor is, you do want to be able to take all of the meat out and measure it to make sure, or to see how much you do have. So for the ratio, what you need to do is for every 2 cups, wet cups of processed meat, you have to add a teaspoon of your calcium and a 1/4 teaspoon of your vitamins and minerals, as well as 1 teaspoon of the fish oil. So in my food processor, because I know that at this point, I know that because I've been making cat food for so long, that at this point it's exactly 6 cups. I'm not going to go out and measure it. So what I will do is I will go ahead and put in my fish oil, my calcium, as well as my vitamins and minerals. So this is approximately 6 cups. So remember, for every 2 cups, you put 1 teaspoon of fish oil. So that's 1, 2, and 3. My vitamins and minerals, I'm going to be putting in a 1/4 teaspoon, and it's a leveled teaspoon. And again, it's a 1/4 teaspoon for every 2 cups. So because I have 6 cups, I'm going to be doing this 3 times. So this is 1, oops, 2, and 3. And then this is my bone meal. My calcium was right in here. And for the bone meal, you want to be putting in 1 level teaspoon. So that's 1, 2, 3. And there's Sebastian in the background crying because he knows that I'm making homemade food and he wants some. So after I put all of that in, I'm going to render it down again, make sure that's mixed. And it's complete. And that's how you make your beef homemade. So at this point, this is 6 full cups of meat. What you want to do is you want to be able to store it in glass jars, ideally glass jars, and then leaving a little bit of space at the top, and then before you put the lid on, and then you want to freeze all of it. So you can leave a little bit of this fresh in the fridge, give a little bit to your baby, and the rest can be frozen and then taken out and defrosted and fed. So the beef homemade should be fed at least a couple times a week to your cat because the red meat component is very rich in nutrients. And that's it.